Okay, it's now it's 7:03. We're turning the fans on. Everybody hold on, we're taking. Okay, it is 7:03. I'd like to call the meeting to order. If everybody could please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If everybody could please remain standing, let's do a moment of silence for our departed former highway superintendent, Tommy Evers. Thank you. I spoke with Tommy's mom, Janet, today, and she wanted to thank everybody in town for all of your outreach and all of your support for the family during this really tough time for them. So thank you to everybody for being a supportive community you can all count on at all times. I wanted to start. Oh, so you have some correspondence, right?
Yes. That's what my holding down, that's right. Okay. Highland Ambulance Service, total calls 24, 5 mutual aids, 1 Lumberland, 1 Tustin, 3 Bethel, 1 meeting, 1 drill, 1 patient follow-up check-in, total member hours 141. Highland Lake Fire Department. Total man hours for the month of May 121, drills 14, drills 40, work nights 15, total of 176 hours. Hewlett Fire Department. Emergency calls 4, drills 2, meetings 3/trainings, miscellaneous 1, total event hours 10 for the total month was 139.77. I have a correspondence from the Highland Highway. Good morning, Johnny. I wanted to give you some information to maybe help clear up some confusion on bonding of trucks. When you purchase a truck costing in the 300K range, it's smart to drain your bank accounts to pay for it. I think no. Don't most people finance new vehicle purchases? Why should the town be any different? One reason, do not drain our bank accounts, is chips. Seems to be a hot topic the last couple months. So here is how it works. Right now, the town has $288,513.31 in CHIPS money to use for road repairs. This is not counting paving, $66,901.10. EWR, I do not know what that is. 58,199.26. POP, I don't know what that means either. 44,600.73. So we have a lot of money at our disposal for the state, but we need to lay this money out to get it back from the state. State needs to see canceled checks for the work, then they will reimburse the town. So wouldn't this be a better use for 330K instead of just paying off a truck that can be financed? Every town and county finance new trucks. This is nothing new. The town has done it for years, except the last supervisor. The last bond that the town took out was for a new truck. It was a 7-year bond. Yes, 7 years. How much interest did the town pay on that? Where were these people then when Andy Boyer and Jeff Haas did that bond? And Jeff wouldn't pay it off early. And if you spend $330K out of the town's money, the next thing they will be yelling about is, we don't have any money. You're spending all our money. And just a reminder, all these trucks were ordered under the last supervisor. What is the old saying? We have to spend money to make money. Hope this helps. Darryl.
Any more questions?
There is one.
Thank you, Sue. Thank you, Daryl. Daryl is the foreman for the highway department. I just wanted to give a brief financial wellness report. We are 100% in budgets. We are exactly at our budgeted time, for our expenses, like we're at right where we should be at this time of year. But we've been utilizing our New York Class account a little bit more, which is pretty exciting. So for those of you who don't know, New York Class is a high yield interest account for municipalities, and we collect 5% interest on that per account that we have. So we have a general fund that we have $1,652,806.85 in. We have our highway fund that has $485,007.69. We have our construction fund, which we don't have anything currently in. That was opened when we worked on our salt sheds in our highway department. And we have a capital reserve and equipment fund. And there's currently $286,846.45. So on those accounts, we're receiving 5% interest on a monthly basis, which is very exciting. So it almost covers the bond just in our highway department alone. Just the money that's invested alone that we're receiving in interest, it almost covers our monthly on it, which is pretty exciting. So we're in very good financial shape. In Jet Bank, we have $1,588,253.78 amongst all of our accounts. So we are very healthy, but as we were talking about the issue of bonding, it's good for us to have the money on hand, and we're collecting interest to pay for it. So we're not putting all that money forward because we're creating a bond program at large. So basically, we're going to be trying to keep the newest and safest fleet on the roads for a 5-year stretch. And we're going to hopefully start something good for the town so that they're in a cycle of ordering trucks after 2 years, because they take about 2.5 to 3 years for some of the specialized trucks. So that once we're 2 years into our bond, we'll be looking to get our next truck in a 5-year cycle. So we're creating basically a 5-year cycle. Right now, what we have in the highway department, they have extremely, they have trucks that are upwards of one is 15 years old, I think is the oldest truck we have. Rob, what is the pickup is the oldest, the 2007?
And 2001.
2006. Yeah, 2006. Got it. Thanks, Jeff. I didn't see that. All right, great. So yeah, so we have trucks that have been costing us a lot of money in repairs. And so we're really excited to sort of kick off this bond program and keep the safest and newest trucks on the road and keep the expense consistent so that we can pay for it and budget it and hopefully pay for it out of our benefits, which is always a good thing. I also wanted to announce a couple of grants that we received. We have another one coming down the pipe, but I was told by the state I'm not allowed to discuss it, so I would not discuss it with you guys until July, but it's a very exciting one. But for now, I hope this captures everybody's appetite for grants. We received $9,500 for the Town of Highlands Summer Youth Program. So this is a third of the expense.
How much was that?
That was $9,500 from the top for the summer youth program. And for youth just in general. And then from Sullivan 180, and to Councilperson Burrell, who's also the Chamber of Commerce president. We went with a dual application, so it's a partnership grant with the Greater Berryville Chamber of Commerce and the town. And we received $8,900. And Laura, do you want to tell us about the work you're keen with that?
Yeah, we've started planting with the help of amazing volunteers, as well as Carol Sundholm, who is instructing us on how to plant certain flowers, where they go, water maintenance. We've hung baskets up and down Ullin and Barryville. We've planted flowers outside of Town Hall, across the street in the hamlet of Ullin. And we have also enlisted an intern to help us with the planting and maintenance of our gardens throughout the rest of the summer and into the fall. Ali Bleefernick will be starting next Monday, so we'll do some training on different gardens, maintenance. We'll be organizing groups throughout the summer and keeping up with the watering. And a portion of the grants will go to be replacing the Town of Highland signs that are falling into disrepair right now on Route 55, as well as the top of the hill on 97. And so more to come on that. We have Fine Hand Signs working on a design and that will be installed later in the season after we're done with the flowers, while we start to clean up and prep the garden beds for fall. It'll be an easy time to remove and replace. And so we're pretty excited about these grants.
Thank you, Laura. Oh, and can you tell them how much our intern makes via Sullivan 180? It's such an exciting program. It's a paid internship with Sullivan 180, and yeah.
Yeah, she's making about $15 an hour, a little bit more if she continues into the fall with us, which is great. It's a good wage for a teenager. Ali Bleefernick.
And they get a 401k too. I think it's like the best internship in the business. So
Yeah.
if you could, hopefully this program will be sustainable, and we'll be looking for an intern next year at this time too. So put that out to all the youth ages 16 to 20 is the age group. And probably with a car. So Laura doesn't.
Yes.
It's
It's nice if they have a car or a truck.
Thank you, Laura. I don't know if you guys saw the handout. If you guys could share, that would be great. So we had our second session for our comprehensive planning. I was unable to attend due to a doctor's appointment, but the topic of this session was natural resources and open spaces. So you'll see this handout, it's color coded with green. So what a SWOT session is basically when they outline strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats on this particular topic. So if you guys want to take a look at this one, it looks like this. You guys can share. There's about 30 copies out there. The next comprehensive plan session, we're still waiting on the permission from the school, but they will take place either June 25th or June 26th. At the Eldred High School, and the topic will be emergency services, which includes conversations about constable coverage, ambulance services, fire departments, and the need and how a lot of these natural resources affect and will lead into our need for infrastructure and for emergency services. So it's going to be a really exciting topic. If you have opinions about bringing back the constable force, this would be a wonderful time to attend. To participate in the session. And for those of you who don't know, the 10-year comprehensive plan is supposed to happen every 10 years. And it's when we get a chance to get together as a town and identify our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, as well as codes that need to be changed or updated, zoning laws that need to be changed and updated. And we're going to be discussing some proposals that were sent to us later on in the meeting today. So I urge you all to participate. The one on short-term rentals was really heavily attended. I think we had about close to, I think 70 to 80 people in the room, and it was a really active session. The second one was right after the holiday, and there wasn't as many folks there, but I guess it was a very nice, intimate, meaningful session, and they were really happy with the results. So if everybody could just take a look at this or grab one on your way out, we'd love to have you come to the next session for sure.
Could I just note that the 26th is planning board?
Pardon?
The 26th of June is planning board.
The 26th of June. Yes.
So if we do the other things.
We're trying to, Yeah, we're trying to get to 25th because we had the same thing with the zoning board of appeals. They shortened their meeting. I don't know how many short-term rentals or what other projects are on the planning board for the next session, but if so, they start at 6 o'clock, so we could start at 7, but I have a feeling that the emergency services session is gonna be action-packed and with a lot of participation, so it would be good to avoid. Thank you for bringing that up. I appreciate it. Yeah, okay, got it. Yes, so hopefully we'll go with that too, there, would be the better. Okay, so contracts, we were gonna discuss this today, because Steve was working with their attorneys, with their staff to put the document in Word and just make the changes that were requested to be in public. And they didn't return the Word document, so we haven't been able to execute the month to month in the format that the public asked for. There was just when we signed the contract and decided to go month to month with them, their legal recourse was that we signed a canceled contract basically and had a 7-day in or out. And after talking about it with Steve, he said, I want to actually put the language in that it's 30 days. I don't like this like sort of legal bantering back and forth. Let's just say 30 days because it's 30 days. And it also leaves us with a little bit more security. If Fusco for some reason wanted to leave us, we would want a lot more than 7 days to try to find somebody to cover for that position. We don't want to set the time of the chaos, especially in the middle of the summer or something like that. So the sooner we can get them locked down for a 30-day commitment, that would give us enough time to hire somebody if we were to have to step out of that contract for any reason. Joe, I leave it to you. Do you have any updates for the highway department?
Well, since our May meeting, we finished up the field observation 1 with the grading of the crusher run and placing the concrete barriers. And ditching on Corkscrew Road and Ballpark Road. Down cleanup day, in 4 hours, it was a steady flow all day long. During the Proctor repaving, we hauled millings to the town shop. There was quite a large pile of millings up there, the regrind. As you know, the new tandem is in. The backhoe is currently down. We're waiting on parts for the power tilts. It's patching potholes around town roads. Prepping for paving projects. We're looking into contract paving for Devlin Road and Crawford Road. And put up the last of the Heroes banners today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate that. Do I have a motion to, I guess, approve the highway contract?
I make that motion.
Do I have a second? Second. Okay, all in favor, so can you do roll call, please?
So we're voting on the contract now, right?
Correct.
And that's what it was handed to us, right?
Yes.
Yes. Councilperson Morel,
Aye.
Councilman Net,
No,
Councilwoman Haas,
No.
Supervisor Pizzolatto,
Aye.
Councilman Miglioranno.
Yes.
I know, I don't know what to say.
Sue's giving Italian class after. After the meeting. Thank you very much. Congratulations to the highway department. Thank you guys for attending today. We really appreciate your work. Tom had a really wonderful meeting with the guys, and if you want to share some of your meeting.
Yes, I spoke, I met with the highway personnel. We had a little meeting. They've been helping us out around town. Every time I ask, I'm a little short on help. as far as town maintenance goes. So the crew, every time I ask them to do something for me, they do it. They cut the trees behind the building. Today I asked them, how to get the garbage out of the courthouse. They went down there. So every time I need to make a request, they're there for us. And it's important for all of us. So it's one of the reasons, I'm going.
Thank you very much, Sean.
And thank you for your help.
Yeah. Okay, next, we have a presentation from, Lindsay and Carly and Christine from the UBC. So we have the National Park Service here, as well as our UBC rep, Christine One.
Hey, hi, my name is Christine, you know me, you probably saw me at the Murder Suite, you'll see me in fact, you'll see me at the farmer's market. I live here, and I am the representative for the Upper Delaware Council for the town of Highland. And I have the great honor of introducing our distinguished guests today from the National Park Service and from the Upper Delaware Council. The goal of this presentation is to establish a connection with the new staff, to introduce new resources that are available, and to receive feedback and foster open communication with the town of Highland residents and the town council. So I just want to mention, I was at the town comprehensive plan meeting last week on the natural resources, and it was no surprise that the river is the single biggest point of contact for this community. And it really is the source of our sense of belonging, of being here. And it's just such a powerful reminder that we share the stewardship and the legacy of the Upper Delaware. And it was also heartening to see that the community is aligned in protecting the river from overdevelopment and the effects of climate change. This makes me proud to be a resident here and now. And now to introduce our guest. We have, Lloyd Ritten's not here, so, sorry, she was going to wait for us, but, so, right beside me is Lindsay Carnapp, the superintendent of the National Park Service, Upper Delaware Scenic and Recreational River. And then Carly is the National Park Service, Carly Marshall is the National Park Service Community Park Planner. For this area, and then Carrie Engelhardt is from the UBC resources and land use specialist. So if you have questions, including about educational or training opportunities, please bring them to us today, or challenges or concerns about river activities, or suggestions for river management actions. You can always send your comments and questions to the UBC, phone numbers on the website, so I won't say it out loud, or to me, and also I can give you my phone number and email afterwards, rather than send that. Okay, thank you.
And Carrie, thank you also for attending tonight, we appreciate it.
Well, thank you for the intro, Christine, and thank you for having us. So we're making the round, we're going to all 15 municipalities that participate in protecting the river, and so we're calling this our road show. So thank you for having us tonight, we're really excited to be here. So I'm Liz Carnapp, I am the superintendent of the Upper Delaware Scenic and Recreational River. So just a little snippet of history. I mean, looking at your guys' SWOT analysis, you understand the river is really important, but just to take us back in time a little bit, in 1978, Congress protected the 73.4 miles of the Upper Delaware from Hancock at the confluence of the East and the West Branch down to just below the number 2 bridge in Sparrow Bush, 73.4 miles, 55,574.5 acres within the corridor, ridge dot, all that are protected and under the Wild and Scenic Rivers Act, as well as the unit of the National Park System. So the Secretary of the Interior, authority delegated all the way down to yours truly. We are the ones here who are set up to protect the river and make sure that it's here for all generations to come. Now each national park unit has a super special snowflake characteristic of why it was set aside. And I would say ours here in the Upper Delaware is that of those 55,000 some odd acres that we're responsible for, the federal government only owns 100, or only owns 30, sorry, will never own more than 120. And that is by design.
So we are doing this whole protection of an American treasure in the Upper Delaware River. We're doing this protection of the land and the water all together. And Congress told us to do it that way. So our enabling legislation, what says that the National Park Service is gonna do this protect the river thing with the Delaware River Basin Commission, the state of New York, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and then the 15 towns and townships all along those 73 mile river. And the body that convenes us all together and brings everybody to the table is the Upper Delaware Council. So we were all protected in 1978, took us till 1986 to set up the UDC, and now we're all here together. So as a superintendent, yes, I am your, as I said, the authority is delegated down to me. I'm your primary representative here in the corridor to speak on behalf of the National Park Service and the Department of the Interior. Also, I am responsible for the overall strategic direction of the Upper Delaware Scenic and Recreational River, as well as our day-to-day operations. So, that's all Meg Bailiwick. I've been here, a little over a year and a half. I think people in Highlands probably learned my name before other towns and townships might have, with some of the projects we had going on last year. So, it is really nice to come and get to meet the folks in the town of Highland. I was a little nervous about some of that last year, so thank you for your patience and grace and giving me a little more time to come meet all of you in person and take some of your questions. I have been in federal government for 16 years. I started my career in our Washington DC office, and I went to Mount Rainier National Park, Fire Island National Seashore down on Long Island, and I've ended up here. I'm originally from Rochester, New York, so about 3.5 hours with my parents, which is just right. It's really nice to be back in this area of the country that, you know, it is near and dear to my heart. And getting to grow up here. So, in the state. So over the last 5 years, we at the National Park Service, we've been through a lot of transition. You know, obviously COVID was tough years for everybody. A lot of our relationships and our connections to all of our community partners up and down the river, they suffered a little bit. We've had a lot of staff turnover. We are going through, I think, an era of people who helped set up and found us as a national park unit in the 80s and 90s. A lot of folks have retired over the last few years, so we've been doing some institutional knowledge rebuilding, which is both exciting and can be a little difficult. So that was a big part of why we wanted to come back here. All of us are different than, and we're all relatively new to our position, so we just want to make sure that you have faces with names and roles and kind of understand who the heck we are. And what we're doing. So I'd say at the river, we're in a bit of a rebuilding era for all of those reasons. And then things I hope you will see from us in the next few years. You know, the first is really making sure we're investing strategically and intentionally in all of our relationships and making sure we're connecting with the partners that we really need to, and we're showing up and we're playing the role that we are set up to play throughout the whole corridor. So that's really focused on our cooperative management, just making sure we're getting out there, talking to who we all need to talk to, being engaged where we need to be. And then we're also really trying to, we have a push going forward, what we're kind of calling community engagement. And that's getting people the information they need, and how we can help people wherever they're riding the river. So that to our landowners who have properties within the corridor, they're a really important partner in what we're doing to protect the river. Are we getting landowners the resources they need? Are we helping them understand why you need to come to the Upper Delaware Council and work through us, on certain projects? Are we also making sure that we continue to be that the river continues to be an economic driver for the area, making sure that people come and have a safe, amazing experience with all of the amazing business owners we have along the river, along the corridor, making sure that they're wearing their life jackets, that they get to go home and tell these amazing stories, to get more people to come back, to get them to come back, to have that same experience, and hopefully both have fun and enjoy the river, but also continue to share that with the rest of their families and friends and others. So with that, I'll turn it over to Carrie, but hopefully if we have time for questions, and then we're also looking for the kind of listening in to the rest of your meeting. We're learning a lot about our towns and townships just by listening to what you guys talk to me. So we will be sticking around, but I'll turn it over to Carrie. Hi, Carrie. Is it on? Can we try and stand close to the mic?
You're okay.
Okay.
Carrie Engelhardt, I'm the Resources and Land Use Specialist at the Upper Delaware Council.
As has been said, the council was created when the river management plan was created in 1986, 1988. And the members of the council are the 13 member municipalities from New York and Pennsylvania, as well as Delaware River Basin Commission is a non-voting member, and the Park Service is our partner. Prior to joining the Upper Delaware Council, I was a professional engineer working in land development. I worked in design housing developments for commercial properties and such. I worked on both sides of the table, sometimes as a consulting engineer representing applicants, other times as a consultant for planning and zoning boards. And in November of 2021, I joined the Upper Delaware Council, where I used my experience in land planning to help protect both the river and its people by guiding the implementation of the river management plan. In my role as resources and land use specialist, I'm the primary person at UBC responsible for project review of significant projects. That means determining whether or not a project that's located within the river corridor meets the threshold of significant project. And then if it does, I prepare a report which is presented to the project review committee. And that report judges the project and whether or not it substantially conforms to the objectives and principles of the land and water use guidelines of the river management plan. And then that committee makes their recommendation to the council, and the Upper Delaware Council as a whole votes on their recommendation to the National Park Service. And they make the final determination on substantial. In addition to my project review related duties, I'm involved in various events throughout the river corridor and the region at large that kind of celebrate the diversity and beauty of the Upper Delaware region. For example, I'm on the steering committee of the Delaware River Sojourn, which is starting this weekend. You may be aware of it. It's about a week-long event where paddlers paddle and camp down the length of the Delaware River. This year, there are 2 days in the Upper Delaware and a few in the middle, a few in the lower, and there's actually 1 day in the Tidal Delaware this year, which is pretty neat. And I'm also involved in the Upper Delaware BioBlitz. BioBlitz is an event where scientists descend upon a property and try to find as many species as they can in a 24-hour period. And then the public is invited to come in, there's programming, and you can see the animals that they've collected. There are different teams, the mammal team, the reptile team, the bird team, and they all kind of compete to see who finds the most species. The bug team always wins every year. I also wanted to mention our grant programs. We have technical assistance grants, which we have offered every year since our inception in 1988. This year, the Maxis received funding to develop an emergency preparedness brochure, and the town of Tucson was awarded a grant to help develop their open space and recreation plan. In the past, we helped to fund a lot of zoning changes. Now that everybody has zoning, those projects aren't as common anymore. But the application period is now open for fiscal year 2025 grants. So definitely, take a look at that, see if you have anything that would apply. We also offer river cleanup grants every summer. Or if municipalities want to do cleanup along river banks, we offer small grants so that you can feed people to come in and do cleanups once or twice during the summer. And of course, I know that many of you are aware of the Upper Delaware Litter Suite. This year was our 4th year and our most successful yet. It's bigger and better every year, and Ohio in particular, a lot of critics attend. So much so that you have to scatter throughout the town. So we're very happy about that. And that's about it. And I'll pass it on to Carly.
My name is Carly Marshall. I'm a community planner for the National Park Service of Upper Delaware. I started there in December. Prior to that, I was the planning director at the Borough of Gettysburg, and have experience also in planning at the county level, assisting municipalities, and in the private sector with private developers. And to reinforce to Carrie and I both have quite a bit of experience directly assisting municipalities, and we offer that in our capacities here as well. So you have projects that are coming up, especially ordinance work, things like that, you can always reach out to us early on, because I know advertising is expensive. And if there significant changes after it's been advertised, you have to go back through. So we're always willing to give feedback early on in the process. We're more than happy to get involved early in the process if you have ordinance work. So that we can keep things moving as smoothly as possible. And then I would also want to let everybody know some of the resources that we have now, and I'll be talking through some of the packets. All of this is on our website as well, on the left-hand side of your packets. Our general brochures and the foundation document overview for the National Park Service that kind of details are significantly or outstandingly remarkable values. But there's also, Upper Delaware has two junior ranger badges, which is unique. That information is in your packet as well. And on the right-hand side, there are some resources from the UPC and the National Park Service. We have a new page on our website for landowners, and it has resources from both states for information on property like riparian resources, forest management, things like that. And we also have a new interactive map that you can go on to see if your property is within a corridor, it has property boundaries, it has the corridor boundaries. And also has, for the municipalities that have zoning, it has their zoning layers on there too that you can turn on and off. And then it has some other tools as well. So there's some instructions on how to use that, like the general tools on that map. In your packet as well, and I'm always available to answer any questions, or if anyone has any difficulty using the website or the map, I'm available to help with that. And yeah.
Thank you. I just wanted to point out that Harry, we were the recipients of one of those micro grants for, I think we're gonna do a Labor Day cleanup, along with our two litter leaders, who was our UBC rep, Christine Martin, and our other litter leader, rep, who also owns disposal and dumpster rental business, Matt Salusto from Next Gen. So he's gonna help us with that in his trucks, and I get to play garbage man once a year, which is really fun. And, yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for making it all happen. If you don't mind, just for expedience, we're gonna move on through the agenda, and then if people have questions during public comment, they can ask at that point. That works. Okay, great. We do have one agenda item that just didn't make it on here, but it's a very important one. We put out an RFP for our to hire consultants for our 10-year comprehensive plan. So we received 3 proposals. In the personnel committee, we met over the weekend and discussed each of the proposals. So Laura, do you want to start to present?
Sure. Based on the responses we received, one from MRB Group, Keystone Associates is the second, and then Millennium Strategies would be the third. I did a review. I looked back through some of the projects over the past few years. I looked at the work being done on our comprehensive plan. And I know that this is a very important point for having a consultant to help us move through the comprehensive plan process. I'd like to make the following recommendation to the board and the public for MRB. I felt they had the best measures for controlling expenses. I'd recommend that we hire them as our comprehensive to see us through the comprehensive plan process. They went above and beyond coming to our town and even attending a comprehensive plan session. They provide an independent viewpoint. It's their first time working here. They have extensive comprehensive plan experience, as well as planning and zoning updating experience. I like the idea that they have a monthly invoice with competitive rates for project-based work, and that their invoices require pre-authorization. So we don't spend money before we know what work we're getting ahead of time. I was very excited to see Millennium. They were very eager, but I felt that if I had to rank them, they felt in third place. And additionally, I'd like to recommend to the board bringing Keystone Associates on as our town engineer. We have used them heavily for our planning board and zoning board applications, and the work that Kenneth has done goes above and beyond. And I'd like to make that relationship a little bit more tight with the town. They're equally qualified and experienced. And I don't want them to slow down on the projects that we have coming. We get more and more applications. There's a lot of things happening in our town. And I'd like to allocate and keep Keystone on as our town engineer. So those are my recommendations.
Thank you, Laura. I had some follow-up questions that were presented from, Councilperson Violino. He asked about travel times, with MRB Group. They're all pretty much 3 hours away. The one that was the most expensive was Millennium Strategies. They're in Nanuet. But they have like a pretty hefty retainer and they charge project fees and charge ongoing as well. So in terms of travel, we would be paying travel fees with both Keystone and MRB Group. Diana from MRB Group did say that she was the person who came to our comprehensive plan session on short-term rentals. And she said that she would make herself available to mitigate costs. But just so the public knows, when you're talking about travel time, it's their hourly rate. She would take the associate engineer rate, 145, and that rate is multiplied by the travel time, so 3 hours is what they would get for coming. But she did say that they would also work with us to see when it would be advantageous for them to come down. You know, we could do Zooms in which they don't charge any travel fees. And the biggest sort of burning issue is that there is a grant that's available right now through the state, and it's the CFA grant. And it closes at the end of July, and that's for $75,000. The thing about it is the comp plan, you know, typically costs around $75,000. We were awarded a CFA grant before, and those funds went to LaBerge, and they came up with a plan, and we didn't actually adopt the new codes and zones that LaBerge had presented to us, but LaBerge did present them to me recently and sort of gave some of the definitions that our code is lacking right now that we really need to dig into sooner rather than later. So we're going to send some of that over to our legal department and see if we can incorporate some of that sooner rather than later. But MRB Group is somebody that I met at the Association of Towns training in New York City. I just happened to sign up for one of their sessions called the Funder Games, and it was all about funding big civic projects and water management projects, and had a really great session with them. Went to a dinner that was sponsored by MRB Group, and there was members from the controller's office, which was really wonderful. They're definitely very connected. And then it turns out some of the return guests at the Stick It In are these gentlemen from the Finger Lakes, and one of them is my friend Josh, who's become a friend, and he's he was on the town council in his municipality in Waterloo, and he worked with MRB Group and said they're fantastic. They're really good for water-based communities and communities where lakes and rivers are like the center focus of the towns, and highly recommended them. So it was nice that it was sort of like a threefold kind of recommendation of these guys. Millennium Strategies is like, you know, they're like the superstars. They're very, very expensive, but they achieve a lot of wonderful things. I agree with Laura, like, I think they're great, but I just don't think we can afford them as a municipality. And Keystone, I also agree with, and we've been talking to the planning board and zoning board chairs, and they're both very comfortable working with Keystone. We like their determinations and their consistency, and I think that providing our town with an overall engineer that sees all the projects kind of 360 where we want to go, what's going on, and where we've been, I think is a really helpful suggestion. So I would like to make a motion.
I'm going to open the floor for discussion.
Yeah, you guys want to open the floor for discussion on the proposals?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm comfortable with Laura's decision.
So MRB, which is the recommendation, is significantly more expensive in their fee schedule than Keystone. And it doesn't outline under travel expenses that it specifically what they would be charging, but Keystone's does. So before we move forward with adopting the recommendation, I'd like them to document what they indicated, because there it just says. We'll add the expenses associated with performance of services to each monthly invoice, including those for travel, bid document reproduction, posting of notices. Or other costs incurred on behalf of the town, whereas Keystone actually indicates their mileage. Cost per mile, their cost for mailings, their cost for copies, courier, all the other things that. Could become quite expensive when you're dealing with a large project, and they're already starting at $85 an hour cheaper than MRB, so. I mean, I think before we can make the determination, we should get the actual complete comparison in writing for the piece variable.
Yeah, just to address that, so that was, Councilperson Vitorino's question. And so then we called Diana and, she solidified like what her hours and rates were that I just discussed when we were going over this. But the thing about all of these proposals is we should try to get somebody on board sooner rather than later because the CFA is closing. And so we don't want to lose out on the $75,000 grant. That would be the first task that we would put in front of any one of these firms. I think it's a conflict of interest to have Keystone be our engineer for the town, as well as our comprehensive plan and our zoning and planning board engineer. I think that we should look for expertise outside of just Keystone.
I'm not certain where the conflict of interest would lie. I'm not saying that it wouldn't be. That might not make practical sense to have separate entities handling the current zoning, planning, and other needs, and then a separate entity for the comp plan, but I don't necessarily feel, unless somebody can. Something to be pointed out to me as to where those conflicts of interest might lie.
Well, like, I just for me, I like if I'm looking at our current relationships right now, right? We have LaBerge, who's been our consultants on engineering, and then they're also our code people, and they're very, very expensive. I mean, they're so out of bounds with what our town budget is. When I get an email from them back with our dedication for ARPA funds, it's $220 an hour per set email back. They turned in invoices late. It's just not a wonderful relationship that we want to continue to pursue. And I feel like having just one agency, I guess it's not like a legal conflict of interest, but it feels like there's nowhere to turn. When LaBerge is handing us these bills and you're asking them for advice, but you're watching, the calculator sort of go off as you're trying to get advice for how to inform things. I don't want another situation like that where one firm has like a monopoly over all of our town interests and insight and input. So I guess it's.
Same attorney for the town board and both planning.
It's not something I would recommend.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Is there any further conversation?
This grant money is gonna cover the cost of this comprehensive plan.
Yeah, so
That's
basically,
correct.
well, there's two separate, so there's usually two expenses that broken up into two parts. And this is another one of Tom's questions that he asked me earlier, before we started the meeting. So technically, the whole process of rewriting a 10-year comprehensive plan in total costs about $150,000, and it's something you do every 10 years. The first half of that is usually the scoping sessions, the gathering of information, and then and sort of identifying what the codes are and getting what the town's vision is and getting that collective sort of thing. We're in a really great situation because we have two staff members from the county that are helping us with this. Carol Roy, who's about to retire actually from the county, so maybe she'll have some extra free time to help out, and Heather Jackson. And so they've been running all of our swatting sessions that are typically run by a consulting group, and they're doing a really wonderful job. But once you get the comprehensive plan together, then it typically is a sort of mirror to itself where you rewrite the codes and you rewrite the zone. The way the CFA grants work is you apply for them, close in July, but you find out when you're awarded, and typically they're all awarded in December, and you don't actually get the grant paperwork until April. So what this means is that we'll probably assume some of the cost, partial cost with gathering the information and then visioning, sort of enacting it and making it formal would be turned over to MRB Group, but their first task would be to apply for said grant. The second half of that is writing codes and writing new zones, and that's what we can apply for with the CFA grant, so that the second half of the project would be covered at least in half. So it is a very expensive process, but it's a very important process, like, just for example, in our town code right now, we have a couple of applications before the zoning and planning boards, that are of a religious nature. And we don't have religious use in our codes right now, and it's causing a lot of legal strife for our town because we don't have set definitions on our code. And I think that it's imperative that we protect ourselves all over the map, and really make sure we have a solid plan for the next 10 years. I mean, we have really big issues coming up down the pipe, and that's just right now in 2024. Threats to our character, who we want to be as a town, what we want to look like, I think is something that is very important to everybody, and it's sort of safeguards our investments collectively, so I think it's worth going with somebody that we think can solve a lot of those issues for us. So with that, I would like to make a motion of two parts, that we hire MRB Group to assist with our comprehensive plan. And also that we adopt Keystone Associates as our official town engineer.
I would urge you to do those in two separate.
Okay, so first I would like to see if I have a motion to hire MRB Group to run our comprehensive planning process. Do I have a motion? A motion.
I'm happy to make the motion. That was my pick. I do think we could get more information to help answer the rest of the board's questions. These are glossy highlights.
Mhm.
It would be really nice to see some real numbers in terms of what our plan is going to look like, what the costs will be in real time.
I guess I would just ask the board is finding out the travel expenses and digging more into this contract. Is it worth basically letting go what would be the $75,000 grant? Because I don't think that any firm would be able to fill out the CFA grant basically we'd have about 10 days before the grant applications would close. So we would lose out on $75,000 to find out what said travel fees would be. I just don't think that's wise.
Well, it's a little more than the travel fees for me, John. When I had a discussion with you, I was under the impression the whole course was $75,000.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was $150,000. So that's why I'm having trouble making a decision right now. And that's why in the beginning of the week, we spoke about, I wanted to see total cost of what it's gonna cost the town. That's what I meant. Now, it's a whole different story. We have 10 days. I don't want to lose the 75,000 for the town, but it's hard to make a decision right now. Caitlin brought up a great point. Hours per hour, she's right, the other company is less expensive, but when it was $75,000, it didn't really matter. It cost $75,000, it didn't matter who it paid. So it's hard to make that decision right now.
When's the deadline for submission?
For the CFA grant?
Yes.
Pardon? Yeah, I believe it's July. Let me just double check. July 31st.
We have 6 weeks.
Yeah, but if our next meeting is scheduled, or I mean, we could have a meeting, if we could schedule a meeting out of our out of bounds, then I'd be more than happy to put this back in.
Yeah, not 8 o'clock in the morning, let's try to,
Sure, so
bump
let's-
it up a little
It
bit,
works.
right?
So
Now, you guys
let's talk about it,
figure out.
everybody pull out their calendars, if that's how you.
We could do also
Best
the
work.
workshop meeting, so that's the first Tuesday.
I would recommend giving whatever agency that we work with the most time to fill out a very important grant for us. I think funding half of the price is very important, so if we could be, give them a meeting until next week. If we could come up with a meeting time next week, we could request the information tomorrow, get the information, send it around to the board, and hopefully take another vote at the end of next week. Does that work for everybody? Can we schedule that meeting in front of the public now and we confirm a meeting time and date?
Well, I mean, not to belabor the point, but our request for proposal specifically asked them to outline that in their submission. So the only one that submitted a complete answer to the RFP was Keystone. The third group didn't even, except they just have the flat retainer, but any of the other things that were outlined in the request for proposal weren't included in their proposal. So the only one that has a proposal that we can even consider, if we're looking at only the things that conform with the RFP would be.
Well, I would urge
I'm not
everybody,
gonna reopen it, because I don't think you can. I don't know the legality of asking only one member to have the opportunity to amend their proposal without reopening the RFP. We set a closing date, so.
I mean, I think that they've outlined what their expenses are.
That would be the question, is whether it's sufficient, if you want to deem it to be incomplete. I mean, obviously, that's the board's prerogative, you want to reject it on that basis, but I would just caution the board that narrowing your choices down to one entity may not be in your best interest. If the board wants me to review the RFP and the law regarding the submission of an RFP and completion as against the submission, I'll do so.
I don't think that's necessary. I mean, we could take a vote on that, but I don't think that asking follow-up questions is something to disqualify somebody. I mean, they did list their hourly rates on here. And it does mention travel time. I don't want to dig into a company or discredit them.
I'm not trying to distract them, I'm saying we put out specifically, proposal should include a description of the applicant's offering, proposed monthly retainer, hourly rates, fee schedule for travel time, and rates included for any other services rendered, which they included the hourly rate for their billing labor category. Everything else says they invoice on an hourly basis for day-to-day tasks and additional expenses, but they don't provide the fee schedule, which is what we asked for. I'm not saying we should disqualify them, but I don't know the legality of reopening the RFPs that were submitted without giving anybody else additional time to submit documentation.
I'm
That's my
happy,
question.
I'm happy to go back to each one of the groups and have them outline their travel costs just as a blanket. We can do the same things with Keystone and with Millennium Strategies, who didn't address it as well. And just look it over. I mean, I would assume all of our consultants charge us for travel at large, and so I mean, to me, it read very similarly to what it was. I mean, I don't know. I would like to give everybody the opportunity then so we can look at their travel expenses. I don't think that they're gonna be down here a lot. I think that it's a lot of work that we're going to inform. And again, we have the benefit of having Carol and Heather leading our sessions off, so they're not gonna have to be part of that process as much. We're basically, the county employees, I think, are very knowledgeable, and will be able to transfer the data so we can shape some cost savings as long as they're amenable to staying on the project. But I would like to circle back with each of them so we can further identify the travel fees, and then if we could set up a meeting to discuss. Does that sound like a good course of action?
John, is it possible to reach out to these companies and ask them an approximate, what it costs to put a comprehensive plan for town size together? It shouldn't be no big deal.
Sure.
You know what it is, this one's 125, this is 150, whatever it is.
Yeah,
It is, and then we have an idea.
that's a good idea, and we can also have them available for Zoom on set meetings too. We can ask the personnel from each one of the companies, so that the town board can ask any questions that they may find relevant to their decision making. Does that sound It's something that works for everybody?
Yep.
Can we plan on meeting on June 21st?
That's a,
That's Friday.
I can't meet Friday mornings.
Okay.
yeah,
Like when we circulated the email about when people's additional availability looks like, I'm back in town by 5:30.
it's been worth it.
So 5:30, could we meet at 5:30 on the 21st? Okay, can we meet at Thursday, the 20th at 5:30? Does that work for everybody?
It'll work for me.
Pardon?
It's not gonna work for me, but I'm gonna leave with my friends.
Yeah, that'll be good. Okay, so our meeting to review these and hopefully we can set up a Zoom with all the agencies as well as 5:30 on Thursday, June 20th. Okay, so we'll table it until then. Oh, our sure. Oh yes, do I have a motion to approve Keystone to be named Keystone engineer as well as planning and zoning board engineer?
Motion for discussion.
Sure.
Is that at what rate are we saying them?
He said, I spoke to Ken about this as well, because it was the recommendation from the personnel committee, and he said that they just bill a la carte like they do now, so they'll just bill as services. They don't have a retainer, and it doesn't change anything about our payment structure. It would be basically just whenever we consult on a project, then he would bill accordingly.
So their hourly rate
Yes, their hourly rate.
for whomever looking at the project, so the highest hourly rate would be $190 an hour.
Yes, that would be fine.
Will we have some sort of agreement with them?
No, he said that it wouldn't change anything about the nature of our conversations. What it would do for us though, is to be able to provide the open lines of communication so that when there's an application in the code office that comes through, they would also automatically just be able to consult with Keystone right now. The planning board chair has said, hey, can we use Keystone for this? And, we've just hired them on a ad hoc sort of basis, but if we could name them, it would just kind of create a little bit like cleaner synergy and clean lines to applicants.
Because both the engineers too are 150 and 130. So that's what we're used to mostly, not on the manager member.
Keystone requesting that a contract be signed.
No. It would just be sort of a namesake for the town. But I guess we're requesting information. Any further discussion?
And the town is presently working with Keystone,
Correct, yes, we've worked with them since 2013.
the performance is, well,
They've had, and Jeff, I love your
They're
perspective.
wonderful to work with, very professional, very knowledgeable, timely. Even keel.
There's a motion to name Keystone as the town's engineers.
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. So can you do roll call, please?
Definitely did you know another engineer, that's for sure.
Councilperson Burrell,
Aye.
Councilman Act,
Yes.
Councilwoman Haas,
Yes.
Supervisor Pizzolatto,
Aye.
Councilman Vigorino,
Aye. Motion with all ayes. Thank you. All right, I was doing some work at the county last week and stopped in to introduce myself to the risk management personnel, Kathy Tiger. And she was supposedly crafted an email to me right when I walked in the door to tell me that we only have until July first to cancel the workers' comp policy that was still open for the American Legion. We paid it for 2023 with ARPA funds because the policy was never canceled. We basically had this policy active for an ambulance that doesn't exist. We ceased operations in 2022, and we still, for some reason, kept the policy open for 2023. And if we don't cancel it by 2024, we'll be paying again. So it's a $5,000 policy. So I'd like to see if I have a motion to cancel said policy so that we're not spending in vain.
I'll make that motion.
Jim, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any extensions? So moved. Thank you. All right, if we could hear from the undersheriff, you want to give us a report on calls?
Thank you, Mr. Town Supervisor. My name is Eric Chidori. I'm the English Sheriff of the Sullivan County Sheriff's Office. First, I want to start out by saying if you have any emergency in the town of Highland, please call 911. As some of you may know from a Facebook post, somebody called some number that the constable used to have, and obviously nobody answered. And then they proceeded to call direct to some police agency. We call 911, 911 as state police and sheriff on GPS, they will get you the closest car. And park ranger could be passing by, a conservation officer, it could be somebody that's closer, so always do that. I was asked to talk about the hours that the deputies patrol in the town of Highland. Except aside from regular service, we have a contract with the town, and the hours limit the hours of former constabulary. So that is on Friday 4 to 12, Saturday it's 8 to 4 shift, and then 4 to 12 shift. And then summer from April 15th to October 15th, on Sunday, we work 10 to 6, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. So they follow the schedule that the former constabulary used to work in tech. A lot of people are under the mistaken belief that the constables for 24/7, they want a weekend thing. We answer the calls kind of do it week back in those days. Okay, so far from January 1st of 2025 and 2024 until June 11th, 2024, we answered 192 calls in the town of Highland. We made 14 arrests. We investigated 11 motor vehicle accidents, and we issued 73 traffic tickets in the town. So that was the activity for the first half. Are there any questions, Mr. Council?
No, it's fine. I would like to give the public an opportunity to ask the undersheriff any questions this time.
I see it here.
You know, the road we did with right here in the central building, like that, the sheriffs are aware of that.
Let me just get a little closer. Go ahead, say again.
It's the robbery in the house robbery, with the car taken out of the driveway, right here in central college, is that under investigation, yes or no?
I'm not familiar with that exact case. It was the sheriff's case or state?
Well, it's all sheriff's coming, so that's why I think otherwise it would not be
I
like.
can, look that up for you and get back to you. Sullivan County consists of 15 towns and 6 villages and there's stuff going on all over the place. So I might not know exactly what you're talking about. I'll show you.
I'll take in touch with you.
Oh. Go with that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, undersheriff.
Okay, public has access.
Pardon?
The public has access.
Okay, great. Oh, super.
Yes, you normally. Sign a bunch of things.
Okay.
In the future, if you want, just put that on the right.
That's okay, that's fine. Do I have a motion to approve a budgetary transfer of, $105,259?
Putting old business.
Any inconsistencies?
Is there any more business?
I wanted to make a motion based on the discussion at the town workshop meeting to add public comment on the agenda. Back onto the agenda. Before, after the committee reports. We discussed it, everyone was in agreement at the town workshop meeting, so. Because we have public comment, the discussion at the workshop was that public comment comes at the end of the meeting. So if anyone wanted to weigh in on any of the agenda items, we've already voted on them after, but by the time they have the opportunity, the public has the opportunity to speak on them. So by putting public comment on the agenda, back on the agenda items, people could only speak about agenda items, and it would give them the opportunity to comment on any of the things that will be taken to vote on later in the agenda. Agenda items.
Were you hoping for a vote pretty much?
Yeah, would like to make a motion to add public comment on the agenda, back onto the agenda after, committee reports. And second.
I'll second it.
You have a discussion item, Karen?
We need to discuss this a little bit more, because it was never like that before.
Yeah, it was only,
Yes, it was.
it was only taken on certain January. We always had public comment on the agenda, and people could speak only on agenda items, only agenda items, not general public comment. Public comment on general items would still occur at the end of the meeting. If there was something not on the agenda that people want to speak about, they could address it at that point.
And for me, I encourage public comment at the workshop meetings because I wanted to see if when the public attends the workshop meetings, that they could actually affect the agenda. So if you felt very passionately about something, or there was an issue that several members of taxpayers, was something on their mind or something they wanted to discuss in a town board meeting, that they could attend a workshop and it could make its way onto the agenda.
Can I remove myself as town clerk right now?
Sure.
And go to the public?
Yeah.
So I don't think that you're fully understanding that the agenda would have all the resolutions, motions, that all the budgetary and all that the public could look at that as they have and have comment on that. Just on that alone. When we're in our workshop, that's when we're making our agenda and getting our resolutions together. Okay, where they're not gonna understand that unless it's in print. I don't know if I'm explaining myself correctly.
We don't have an agenda at the workshop meeting, so the public comment at the workshop
So
meeting is what
it's
people want to put on
what
the
we
agenda.
have.
It's just
I'm not town clerk right now.
for people, no, just sit down and talk, you don't have to play tricks.
Well, I do have to.
Okay,
But they're looking at these, okay, and maybe they wanna know, you have me put the abstracts out. And, not that you, but they can have comment. Well, why are you making that budgetary transfer? If we already approve it, they have no say. So it's just on the agenda alone,
okay,
nothing else,
got it.
okay?
Sue?
And it has always been important.
I definitely want to keep the ideas of the public being able to comment publicly at the workshops as well, because I do think that if the public does want to put an item on the agenda, that they should have the right to come and get said items put on the agenda. But do you want to do a roll call vote, or is there further conversation?
So I'm doing a motion to put public comment.
Public comment on the agenda items only. Back on the agenda.
Do you have a motion?
On the motion.
I'll second it.
Councilperson Burrell,
Yes.
Supervisor Pizzolatto,
Yes.
Councilman Migliorio.
Yes.
We vote yes to the budget,
yeah.
yes, that's what we vote yes. I mean, I vote yes. we vote yes.
You have to do the roll call.
Councilman Act,
Yes.
Councilwoman House.
Yes.
So moved, motion moved. Any new business? Okay, so. This is your. Do I have a motion to approve the budgetary transfer to be made to the 2024 highway budget in the amount of $105,259, oh, sorry, $70,305.
For discussion. The dates on the resolutions are, if these are the resolutions for the budgetary transfer that we're doing, it's in May 11th.
Yes, they do say that. I get those from the book here.
So
Should be due.
it should be June 11th. So can we make the following, change to the town of Highland at the board meeting on June 11th? To introduce and pass the following, a motion to, do I have a motion to approve with the date change, the budgetary transfer of $70,305 made to the 2024 highway budget?
Just have another question. So when you reviewed the financial reports at the beginning, you said we were at right where we should be for those. Does that include these budgetary transfers, making those budget lines where they're supposed to be at this point, or?
Yes, because we had to,
So it's not based on the financial report that we have, it's based on the movement of this money into these lines afterwards.
yes, but
Yes.
yes. Any further discussion?
I don't make them.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the budgetary transfer to be made to the 2024 highway budget, in the amount of $70,305 with the addendum of June 11th? The date change. Do I have that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions, so moved. Do I have a motion to approve the budgetary transfer of $105 or $105,259.88. With the addendum of June 11th made to the resolution. Made to the general budget. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Any extensions? So moved. Do I have a motion to pay the highway abstract number 5-2024 claims number 56 to number 67 in the amount of $19,285,009.
Motion.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any extensions? So moved. Do I have a motion to pay the general abstract number 5-2024 claims 136 through 161 in the amount of $71,684.80? Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Oh. Any extensions? So moved. Do I have a motion to go into executive session for the purposes of town litigation?
Make that motion.
Can I have a second?
Before you do that, I got the answer.
Oh,
Oh,
got it. Yes, actually, we'll go and I'll ask Tina.
Okay.
Next time I see her, and we'll take a quick break. Everybody, please enjoy, wonderful refreshments. Did I get a second there? I did, right, Laura? Do I have a motion to come out of executive session? Second? I'll second. Okay. It's 8:37. I'll ask you.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The abstention so moved, thank you, Steve. Okay, no. Public comment. Anybody have any questions? Yes.
Mel Carney from Highland Lake. I actually think that you were gonna address this right from the last meeting. It was announced that the ARPA funds were illegally deposited into an interest-bearing account. And I found information that corroborated that was incorrect, and you were given incorrect information, and I think on behalf of the previous administration, it should be noted that that was incorrect information, and it's absolutely legal to deposit ARPA funds in an interest-bearing account and keep the interest. Also, I brought up the postal contract in May, usually not because of the poorly written contract, but more importantly, you signed that contract 2 weeks after the board had voted for a month. So that was really my issue with Fusco. Also, I have a question with Zoom. The chairman of the zoning board was permitted to chair the May meeting over Zoom, which I thought was in violation of the open meetings law. But since both the attorneys for the town were present, excuse me, I assumed I read the law incorrectly. However, the emergency meeting that was held on May 24th, Councilman Ack and Councilwoman Haas were not invited to join via Zoom. So I'm seeing that the rules are being applied inconsistently. I don't know if Zoom is legal or not. My reading is that it's not, but it was available to the chair of the zoning board. It should have been available to the council people who couldn't be present. Also, the emergency meeting issue that consistently comes up, because people have said the previous administration had them all the time. I did a little research. In 2023, there were 2. In 2022, there were 0. So there have been 4 through May. And I think that we need to keep the emergency meetings to the emergencies.
One caveat with regard to Zoom, I never indicated that it was my opinion that the ZBA chairman could participate by Zoom. I made that very clear, what my opinion was. I made it also clear that there was a difference of opinion between myself and the departments, the relevant personnel of the Department of State. I announced that to the board, and the board made a determination.
Any more public comment? Yes.
I have a question. Who was the consultant for this 10 years before this?
For the plan,
Talking about
for the comprehensive plan in the last one?
For the comprehensive plan, it was LaBerge. So LaBerge turned over their, I believe the comprehensive plan session began in 2016. And it went through 2018, and we basically abandoned a lot of those recommendations. We didn't adopt that code. We just sort of started over, and that's where we're at now. So we really need some professional eyes on the code. But I can find out like who was there before that. I'm not sure. I just know that LaBerge started with us in 2016. Any more public comment? Okay. It is 8:41. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
For the second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you to the public. Thank you to the park
Daryl's
service.
trying to get a new coat.
Have a great night, everybody.
Guys,